this year that you would have hearings after you finish the defense bill, and you would have them this year. Well, you finish the defense bill and it's still this year. Right. So when are your hearings?
We were going to have them in December, and now we're not going to be able probably because of all of the things going on, including Fort Hood. It's just there's so much on our plate. We may not be able to have the hearing this year, but that's not an effort to avoid the hearing. I want the hearing. The military wants the hearing. They want to be involved. They want to be asked. So these recent events just put a huge kind of a responsibility on us to focus on the Fort Hood event first, and that means we may not be able to get to the Don't Ask, Don't Tell hearing, which I had hoped not only would be in December, but late November originally.
Senator, and you also said that it can't happen until after there's a careful review. Well, is a careful review going on within the Pentagon now, so that you can next year address it? That we're not talking about a prolonged process.
Right. It is. I've talked to Secretary Gates, Admiral Mullen about this. They are reviewing this policy in a number of ways. They're not reviewing this policy in a number of ways. They're not going to begin the review when we announce that the hearing date is December such and such or January and such. They are looking at this now. This time is not being lost in terms of the Pentagon going through that internal process, talking to people at all levels, officers, enlisted personnel, young, older men and women, retirees. They are going through an important process here with the command and everybody leading up to the command.
Senator, that's it for our time. Thank you very much for being with us this week.
Great being with you.
We appreciate it. Senator Carl Levin, the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Let me turn to Rick Mays and Roxana Tehran to put Senator Levin's comments in some larger context. Let's begin with Afghanistan. Rick, you've been covering this town and relations between the Pentagon and Congress for a long time now. It seemed as though Senator Levin is waiting, just like the rest of us, for news from the White House about which direction the president is going.
Well, I think in part he's not telling us how involved he's in, because they have been listening to him very closely when he talks about trainers and that being a requirement. But it's also true that President Obama is being very slow and deliberate, and he does this. And I don't know really what troops think. When Obama goes to military bases and speaks to the troops, one of the lines that gets the most applause is when he tells them, "I'm not going to send you anywhere and put you at unnecessary risk, that I want to be a commander-in-chief who's careful." And so in part he's doing what he said. This is a big decision for them. I don't think that there is a clear answer. I think that whatever it is, it's going to take a long time, and they have to settle with themselves that we're not going to send troops in and be there a year. We're talking 5 years, 7 years, something like that.
Pretty strong advice to the president about making an announcement that involved a NATO coalition announcement. Are you getting any indications that that's what we're going to have as a country?
Not exactly. The president has expressed the need and the importance of having NATO collaborate with the United States, that he can't send more U.S. troops without having the NATO allies contribute them as well. But NATO at the same time is waiting for President Obama to make his decision as well. And if you saw the UK Prime Minister already is talking about transferring security forces, transferring the mission to Afghani security forces in 2010. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy between what is expected, what Senator Levin is expecting, and what President Obama is expecting to see, and what Europe is looking at as well.
And that big increase they're promising in British troops is 400 troops. That's not anywhere close to the 40,000 that we're talking about sending in U.S. troops.
Yeah, he did use it as a percentage.
Well, he did. That sounds so much better, doesn't it?
And the level, I think, and also the other countries, if you look at, they never send more than 1,000 or 1,500 troops. So we're talking a much bigger percentage from the United States, a much bigger commitment.
And what are members of Congress hearing from the public? Both of you asked questions about public tolerance on this. And I'm wondering what the pressure is like on Capitol Hill for the president to sell this effectively.
I think that the biggest trouble that they have in selling it is that it's going to take a long time, and it's going to cost a lot of money. And this is a country that doesn't see why we're spending money on a long, extended war right now. And with all the emphasis that's going to happen in December and early next year on job creation, that is a sticking point, and that's something that they have to overcome. And I'm not sure that President Obama, great speech maker that he is, can in one speech explain to the American public why we need to be doing that. That's what they face.
There was reference made by Senator Levin to the Republicans. Can you inform our audience about what the Republican reaction is going to be if Senator Levin has the president's message right?
Well, I guess the most Republicans, of course, have stressed the need to have an Iraq-type surge in Afghanistan, which means a significant amount of troops, about 40,000. I think they probably would even support more. And Senator Levin basically was referencing to the fact that if President Obama doesn't do that, anything below that would prompt criticism from the Republican Party. If he wants to do 40,000, if he wants to send 40,000 troops, that means that some of his bigger supporters in Congress would be the Republican Party, because you're not going to see that level of support, of strong support from the Democrats.
And I didn't hear Senator Levin saying that that was the message is coming from the president. I think what Senator Levin said is that is the message he wished was coming from the president, right. That we really expect that there will be a ground troop increase coming from out of the White House. I don't think that he can do anything less than that at this point. And combat troops, in addition to the trainers. I don't think that they can do anything less than that at this point, just because of the pressure from within the military on him that we need these troops. And it's very hard for the commander-in-chief to say to the commanders on the ground, no, you don't need them. I mean, I don't think that he can make that decision.
One part that I hope you can help me understand, I thought I heard Senator Levin suggest that the Afghani army is already capable of handling their own defense. Did you hear that as well?
I think that's a little bit of a gap between his understanding and what, for example, Secretary Gates said yesterday in the press briefing. Secretary Gates didn't think that any transfer of security to the Afghanis was, imminent, or it depends on the regions, on the districts. It's a really case-by-case basis. But it didn't seem. I think the understanding in the Pentagon is not the same, that they are in fact able to take over.
And capable and willing are two different things. So I think that they might possibly be capable of doing it. I don't think that they're willing to do it on their own yet. There are political reasons for that.
1 minute left at the end of our interview. You pressed the senator a few times on the don't ask, don't tell policy. Why is that?
Well, I think that he made a promise, and that there's a lot of people in the gay rights community that expected hearings in December, and that they'll be quite surprised to hear from him that he's put them off because of some reason. I think that they're not surprised it's been put off, but that from him, they expected that they were going to have hearings in December.
What about the rank and file in the military?
Well, it depends on what rank and file you're talking about. I think that we've found that a lot of tolerance to change, except among the senior commanders who may face leadership problems as a result of it. Probably the day's coming when it's going to happen. I don't know when it will be.
Roxana, very last question for you, and not much time. Did you learn anything on the Fort Hood discussion?
That Congress definitely will perform oversight, that they're not going to leave this to the military alone or the executive branch, that they really want to exercise their role as in oversight.
And hearings will happen soon, it sounds like. Well, thanks to both of you for being here this week and for your questions.
Thank you.